Year!
Are we there yet? She has those colon cancer. They're human beings. It's their birthright. You're damn straight. Let's go.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Enterprise at 8. That's right, it's 8, not 9, 8. In case you're mixed up on that in any way. It's been over 20 years, guys, since we've seen the episode Terra Nova has first aired, but we've watched it again, and we're going to talk about it. I'm Jody Simpson, and my co-host tonight is none other than the amazing Adam Woodward.
Hello, guys.
You know what? I like the facial hair you're rocking there.
Thank you.
It's awesome. I like it. Also joining Adam and I, our awesome producer, Live Long and Podcast very own, Dave Mater.
How you doing?
I'm doing
Happy
all right.
New Year!
Happy New Year. I was just going to say that, actually. That's to everybody, of course, not just you.
This is all shale.
It's all shale.
It's all shale. Let's go to the underside.
Is it not
All right.
the New Year, Dave?
Wait, do you hear something in your ear? Because I do. Because who can forget future Enterprise fan forum administrator Kevin Millard?
He's back.
Super bad at trading.
He's back and healthier than last week.
Yes.
Excellent. Glad to hear it.
Welcome back.
Tonight's episode is Terra Nova. This is the 6th episode in the series, 5th if you're with Netflix. Eventually, I'll just take that out of my script, but we'll keep it for now. This is the episode where the Enterprise learns the fate of the human colony, not heard from in over 70 years. When the crew arrives, they discover unexplained radiation at the site of the colony, as well as other things, including a bicycle wheel. Understanding that radiation level 70 years ago would have been lethal, they find that people still there and living underground, like gnomes or something. So anyway, let's talk about this, guys.
Hobbits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this, in my opinion, is one of the worst episodes I've ever seen. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I don't like this episode.
All right.
This is in my top 5 worst Enterprise episodes. I guess we'll just start we'll start with Adam. Adam, what were your initial thoughts on this episode?
I was thinking, Dave, you came out with the shale comment, and when they're changing the language, and it's only 2 generations has passed. I think this could have been a great episode, and they just wasted an opportunity.
Yeah.
This episode is lacking. It's it's one of those ones that's a good premise, and the execution is just not there. I think what this show for me so far is missing is the fun. Like it's Star Trek was always like people working and living in space. It's not really how I feel about this crew yet. I know they're exploring, and this is the first ship, and they're not, but it's
next week's
really
episode.
Care about any of these characters yet.
Yeah, next week's episode, I promise, will be much better, Kevin. I promise. It is one of my favorite episodes. Is the next one coming up?
The Andorian incident is next.
Exactly. What do you think, Dave? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, like it's hard to like. I'm kind of with the same thing. Like this is an episode I remember watching 21 years ago, or I guess it would be 20 years ago plus a couple months, and being disappointed with it. It felt this could have been a Voyager episode as easily as it could have been an Enterprise episode. I think
this was a Voyager episode.
Yeah,
this is literally a Voyager episode. They just reskinned it.
They even mentioned at the
I
end,
can't even remember the name of the episode, but
the 37s with Amelia Earhart. They even reference her at the end of this episode. And I was like, it's kind of like that episode, but for them, but this is mystery that we've never heard of. Like it's not a current day mystery, but this was the original colony that they set up, and so that's kind of interesting. But on the other hand, I'm still very sketchy on what the timeline was between First Contact and when they launched Enterprise and what exactly went on, and how they settled the solar system and things like that. But whatever, I don't know if I'll ever get those answers.
You get some of them throughout the series, but not many.
Yeah, and so I think that, like, on paper, that the premise of this is fine, like a colony, and then like everybody was killed except for the very youngest children. That's why their language is devolved into like this sort of baby talk, I guess. It's, I don't know, like they're eating.
Reminds me of an
armadillos.
episode from the original series called Miri.
Yeah,
Funny you should
that's
mention
the
that.
first thing I thought when I was watching this and they were on that abandoned planet. I'm like, this is going to be Miri.
Well, there was actually a nod to Miri in this episode.
Was there?
I don't know. That's when he spun the bicycle wheel.
The bicycle wheel.
Same thing happened in Miri.
Oh, okay. I thought that was just like creepy ghost town like thing you do or whatever.
Well, I think a lot of people perceived it as that, but I look at it as a callback because it literally is a callback. Which maybe we'll find out later in fun facts. I don't know. Anyway, let's start talking about this thing. So we open up with obviously everybody on the bridge, and Mayweather is looking at this, I guess this digital file of Terra Nova, and how he's very fascinated by the idea of the settlers going to the next Earth, I guess, so to speak. It takes them X amount of years. I think they said it was 9 years or something one way.
9 years to get there and 9 years to get back.
Cooter's a trek. Those guys are always troublemakers. I see Kevin and Dave have been banished to the underside. Well, they are both on the bottom right now. So
yeah.
The problem is that me and Adam are both going to die from radiation. So
Right.
there you go. Speaking of the bicycle wheel, it's right there.
We get away for that poison rain.
There it is, right there. That's the scene. But anyway, he sees this record and he gets all excited, and they're going to check in on these guys. And we find out that something happened. There's been no communication. Your typical Star Trek episode. No communication with the planet, so we got to go in blind because that's just the way things happen with Star Trek. They never just show up and everything's okay. But so anyway, they do that. They eventually get there. They start an orbit. They go down. And the first thing is they're greeted with essentially what you're seeing behind me right now is almost like a bunch of shacks and nobody's home. Nobody's there. At this point, I don't know about you guys, but I was like, not remembering all of this episode when I was watching this. I'm like, okay, this is getting cool. All right, we're good. The thing that it went downhill for me is directly after this, you see the guy who's in charge of weapons and security sees somebody running around, and his first instinct is to follow them.
Chase them with a gun.
Yeah, let's chase them. We're on a foreign planet. We're looking for people, but no one's around. But yet he finds somebody in the bush, and he instantly has to run after them, which makes no sense. I also don't know why he had to run through a stream when there was a very nice path right beside the stream. I don't know why he had to run through the stream. I guess that was for dramatic effect of some sort. But
he doesn't care about getting his feet wet.
He does not care at all. But the first thing he says is they look like lizard people, basically, like they have scales and stuff like that when he reports back to Archer. And then eventually we go and we eventually do the cave trope, which is, oh, we found a cave. They must be in there.
Again, didn't we just do a cave episode? I think
we did do a cave episode. And if you look actually very closely, the cave set is very safe, very similar. so anyway,
on the opening song.
Yeah, so this is our standard. This is normal for every Star Trek series. There's always a cave that somebody runs into, and somebody has to go in after them, and
and either scanners can't go through them, or transporters can't go through them, or both.
Exactly, yes. And the thing that I found fascinating is you're currently exploring a area that you have no information about, but you didn't bring flashlights with you, and you have to get Mayweather to run back to get flashlights. Okay. I don't know why that wouldn't be strapped into the one of 3,000 pockets that you have on your suit.
You know what? At least they weren't the stupid Next Generation flashlights, the ones they held.
The blocks.
The blocks.
Little blocks. It's like,
The best,
They
the
always
best ones are on Discovery because they're built into the vest, and it makes a lot more sense.
That makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was
know.
funny in Next Gen that they actually gave a hand up to carry these flashlights.
Yeah,
Well, and you have to wonder too, because back then we didn't have LED flashlights, so the special effects department probably had like a line going down to a huge battery somewhere on their body, just so they could have that cool little portable tech, right? So who knows?
Now they just CGI in the flashlight, but
yeah, if they want to, yeah. But anyway, so they go into this cave, and that's where they come across essentially these people, who clearly are, a little bit. They're obviously not very aggressive. They don't appear to be aggressive. They appear to be kind of. They're not laid back by any means, but they're not really aggressive towards them. They're just kind of there, and they start flashing around their flashlights, and they get all scared and run away, kind of thing. So. Up to this point, guys, I don't know about you, but this is where I start losing interest because I've seen this already a bunch of times. Oh, there you go. Dave's got a good shot there. I think the makeup looks interesting. I wanted these people to not be humans. I don't know about you guys, but
this was interesting, right? I think you're right. Until about this point, it was pretty okay. Who are these guys? I'm buying it. I'm into it.
Yeah.
I like the build up, and then it just kind of lost it.
Yeah. Well, I figured they were the humans that were there already. I mean,
that was the logic, right?
Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The one thing that stood out for me in this episode actually is well before this is when they're sitting at dinner.
Oh, you're gonna bring this up. That's good.
And to Paul, actually, you can see that she's starting to respect humanity. She says, one thing I've learned from spending time with humans is that they're very resourceful. So she's like, they're probably alive. Like, that's a nod of respect to humans that we haven't seen from.
I'm glad you brought that up. I totally just kind of blew that off. I didn't even think twice about it.
Well, this scene was again Trip being stupid, and then to Paul being smart.
Yeah,
and he makes the comments. Well, we had to learn all about the Vulcans' first contact, and and she goes, name one.
Name one thing you learned. He's like, I did pay attention to history.
I'm not much for history.
I'm not much of a historian. Yeah.
But it's no different than if we were asked, who were the prime ministers of the 60s and 70s. We might know a couple of them, but we don't know all of them, I'm sure. And if we, some of us
or
might,
like the 1880s or something like that.
Yeah, we did learn them, but we kind of, it's not something that we keep regurgitating over and over again. So it's, so I think that's a very good point, right? Like, I think the other thing that also we're kind of they're not being very subtle about, but in a way they are being subtle, is the fact that he is nervous around her. And it's something that's kind of does happen throughout the show, is Trip's generally nervous in front of her. Like, he's always trying to prove that he is as smart as she is. Yeah, well, he does have a thing for her, and obviously that, progresses later on in the series. But I think it's interesting that in the early episodes, you really see it. So I don't know if that was planned or if that was just something that was part of his character trait. But either way, I think it's interesting to see. But I'm glad you brought that up because to be quite honest, I totally forgot about that part. And of course, this also shows that LeVar Burton, obviously of Next Gen fame, directed this episode.
One of the best Star Trek episode directors, and so if he couldn't make this good, then they
probably shouldn't have made it.
This is he would have I think there are a few Star Trek directors that you can kind of count on to bring their best, and he's one of them. Mm-hmm. And if this is just kind of like, if we all kind of went, well, I'm kind of sad I watched that again, then it's like what else can you do with the story, really? It's
the episode though, from like shot perspective and stuff like that, I think is actually pretty nice. Like, even the shots that I'm seeing in the background right now, like the shot says they're walking into a room, and then they kind of focus in on Archer and then back out again, which is really kind of a neat effect. And that's the other thing that I do like about this episode is Archer isn't a complete kind of annoying entity at this point. He's a little bit more kind of relaxed, a little subdued. He gets kind of annoying later on, I guess, but I'd
really like a Picard speech or something out of him. Like, there's no speeches being made.
He's not a Picard,
even when he does, he sucks at them.
Picard is who he is because Picard spent many, many years prior to this doing the same job.
Right.
So like, this is a guy who's just out. Like this is only like a month and a half into their voyage.
Yeah,
at this point,
and in defense of him, he is the first captain out of Starfleet going too. There's Picard had a history behind him, hundreds of years
massive,
of stuff. Yeah.
And even Kirk to a lesser degree, but it's all of the captains previous have had pretty much pretty good experience, with the exception of maybe Cisco, but Cisco had other experience. So
my struggle with Archer is always like he's got like this irritability to him.
Yes.
That because it's so hard being the captain, and we're all like, we've seen Star Trek before, and yes, it's hard to be the captain, but he's just always like, oh my god, I can't believe I left Reed in that cave. Oh, I'm so mad at myself, and I'm gonna start taking it out on whoever I'm talking to.
You're tearing me apart.
Yeah, he's always grinding his teeth and getting upset, and I'm just like, Archer, just stand sharp, man.
He definitely in the first season, he almost I want to say he almost overacts, but I don't think that's the right word.
No, he is underacting. That is underacting is the word for what he is doing in this
series. As much acting as it is reacting, I think is really what I guess that's the way I'd like to say it. It's more reacting than acting. He's reacting off of everybody else, right? Instead of actually being his own character. To me, anyway. So, but
yeah, he's often just pushing the story along and whatever. But I don't like. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Archer.
Well, Archer's Archer, right? We have a comment here. Sam Higdon says, "Happy New Year." Well, happy New Year to you, Sam. And make sure we see you on a 3-hour tour sometime. All right. Anyway, he's for anybody who doesn't know, he is a big Gilligan's Island fan, along with Adam, I believe. And there you go. So, thank you, Sam. Anyway, let's keep going. I you know what? I'm having a hard time even wanting to go, quite honestly. But let's keep going.
Well, I can bring up some stuff. I mean,
absolutely, please do.
I always think it's funny who Archer chooses to go on the away team.
Yes.
And in this, so first of all, the conversation with Mayweather is like the best guy. He's like so excited to be there. I want to see Terra Nova. It's a mystery, and it's described as the great experiment. But then he chooses, like, who went on the away team again? Malcolm, T'Pol, and Mayweather went, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry, there's your picture. And then he he leaves Trip in command of the bridge again. So, which is a sort of a nod to leaving Scotty in charge, I guess, as well. Because really, other Next Generation, I don't think Forge was really left in charge too much.
No.
I don't know if I'd put LaForge
Data
in charge,
superseded LaForge, though, like, because after first officer you have second officer, and Tucker is second officer.
Right, Tucker is the second officer. I guess I'm just surprised sometimes when you see the engineer left as in charge, because he really should be down below, in my opinion. But I guess that's the ranking. It's
the ranking. It's about seniority and sort of who's capable of doing it. But
I get the same feeling every time they leave Troy in charge. It's like, literally, that is the one person you shouldn't have in charge of that.
But Jody, she sent holographic Jody to his death. She earned that rank. Come on.
Oh, I see. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
That's what you're gonna do to become a commander. You're just gonna say, holographic Jody, you better go kill yourself.
You better go kill yourself.
He's
man.
like, okay.
He's like, done and done.
Yeah,
right,
you're a commander now.
I agree with Adam completely. It's very odd, especially in the first 2 seasons of this show, who they take with them on away missions.
Here's my question too: is this supposed to be Travis's episode? Is he supposed to be the main?
He has an episode later on.
He has a much better episode later on.
Yeah, that I would say is definitely his episode.
Are you talking when you see his backstory and that's the one you're talking about? Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one.
It's a good episode.
I don't think this is really anybody's episode.
Yeah, it's more ensemble. You're saying
this is more of an ensemble. Yeah. Well, Hoshi's in it, which is
not much, but she's there.
She's in it, but we have Phlox as well, which is always the delight to see. So
he has a bit more to do in this one.
Yeah,
answer for one thing.
The thing that always bothers me with this show is when Phlox goes on an away mission, because it's like you have one medical officer, you're not going to take him. Like, it's no, that's bad. Like, don't do that. Like that. That's just such a bad idea. Like,
Well, I don't think he
But,
went. They brought people to him.
he went on a couple
on the second trip when they went to go like
Yeah, on the second trip he came down, which is fine because at that point it's technically secured. Makes sense, right? So
we also got one of the first like because they don't have like an observation lounge or a briefing room. They have what they call the situation
room. Yep.
Which is not even a room. It's just
That's where they eat dinner.
It's a table at the back of the bridge, isn't
They
it?
eat dinner there, Dave.
This thing.
No.
Oh,
the situation room is on this Enterprise. It's actually right behind the bridge. Yes.
Yeah, and he's like, "Let's meet in this. Tell the flocks to meet us in the situation room." I mean, you meet on the bridge, like at the rear after the bridge. Okay, and
okay. So I've actually come across this before, and my understanding is that this room can actually be closed off. So it's designed to be closed. So it's open normally, but it has like kind of like a door that can be closed to create a separate room. But yeah, it's right off the bridge.
But why would they close the door? Everybody that's on the bridge is there.
Yeah,
pretty much.
They're like, "Oh, we don't want you to hear this."
Like,
Sorry,
who are you missing here? The only person you're really missing is the guy that's already been captured.
Yeah,
right.
Later on, when they have the Mirror Universe episode, we see the Mirror Enterprise. They definitely have their own briefing room in that episode.
Yes, yeah, they do have briefing rooms on this ship as well. I think. I just don't think we see it in the first season.
Okay,
but later on, you do see it.
Yeah, so it's one of the
or
first
at least
times,
something like it. Yeah.
Except Reed's not there because he's captured at this point. But like this is like one of the first
which
times
we totally glossed over. He was captured. Okay,
he got shot in the leg.
He got shot in the leg with a bullet.
Yeah,
he got shot with a bullet. Exactly, because that's all they had.
So what? Like
no face pisters for these guys.
Because all the survivors of this colony were under 5 years old, right?
Yes,
that's what we're to believe.
And I guess they grew up and they found these guns and were able to use them. Because
this was 70, 80 years ago. We don't actually know when the phase pistols were created, so maybe they were created during that time.
It's more just that
I imagine they would just be left with
because they didn't have phase pistols in First Contact, did they?
No, it was guns at that point.
No, it was guns.
It was all guns then.
I buy they're
that
still using guns around 70 years before this. It's just that that these survivors were so, I don't know, inept. Like they were just like little kids. They were lucky they survived it all, and they grew up and learned how to use machine guns.
Well, that's where Miri did a better job, I thought, because they kept the kids as kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but that's also because of what was going on that planet, though.
Yeah, but I mean, to Dave's point, I mean, so you've had a generation or two generations grow up, have kids, figure out how things work. When admittedly Bernadette, who's one of the stars of the show here, later on we find out her name, but she's 75 or something. So
yeah,
and she's one of the oldest.
Yeah, and she was 4. They referenced her being 4 years old when this happened.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I mean,
she's
that's
one of the only people that we learn her actual real name is.
Right?
Yeah, it's more just like the use of the firearms by these colonists, by these Novens is I'm just trying to like track like how they got to that point where they became, I don't know.
Well, it would be assumed that they would have firearms on their mission. Like they would have to bring some sort of means of defense because they don't know when they land on the planet if there's anything there.
That all makes sense. It's just that they were able to maintain them, learn how to work them, keep them clean, be able to load them, all that.
Yeah,
kind of
that's
thing.
a little weird. Yeah.
Not use up all their ammunition over 75 years either.
Yeah,
they were just
hunting. Yeah, but
how many rounds they fired
those,
at them? It was a lot.
Those armadillo-looking things that they were eating.
Yeah, the diggers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they were using that. But anyway, so but he takes a bullet in the leg. Okay. Not too bad overall.
And Phlox can't heal it on site. Interesting. It's just a bullet. Like they can do that now. We have that technology now to do that in the field.
Well,
dig a bullet out of an ankle. Yeah, we do.
Well, but I think what he's trying to do is get it back to completely 100%, right? So,
right.
Yeah, but he's funny too. He says, "I'll milk him, be okay. We're gonna leave him back."
Yeah. They're like, because they gotta kick. And Phlox is like, leave him here. Leave him.
And speaking of Phlox, this is the first time we actually hear what he is. So they've never mentioned before what his species is called until this episode. So that's kind of cool that they did that.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. He's like,
Yeah,
what's
because they've never
that?
said what he is. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah.
a
They're like, what's
Denoblian.
that? And he's like, I'm a Denoblian, and everybody just kind of looks at him like, oh, is that what you are? You know, it's like, oh, okay, You
Sure,
know,
you're a
so,
Denoblian.
all right, fair enough. At least we
Yeah.
got a name for it now. We thought you were just weird, creepy medical alien dude, but whatever.
What did you guys think of like these two, the main Novens that we meet here, like the mom, the Nadette, who we find out is Bernadette. I don't know his name. He's just disagreeable man.
So when I first saw both of them, I instantly recognized the man because the
Yeah.
man's been on various Star Trek, and he's also been in tons of different TV shows. Like he's a very accomplished. I wouldn't say he's a main actor, but he's a very accomplished secondary character in a lot.
Eric
of different stuff.
Avari. He's actually
Avari, yeah.
Indian, from India.
Is he? I didn't
yeah.
know that. Yeah, cool.
He was in Unification 1, Next Generation.
Yes, he was in
and he was in
Oh.
DS9's Destiny.
Destiny. That's what I was trying to
Yeah,
remember what episode it was.
He played a condescending Vedic.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember.
And the lady here, who you can't really tell much with the makeup, but we've seen her in other things as well.
Mary
I don't know if she's been
Carver
in Star
is her
Trek.
name.
Yeah, I don't know if she's been in Star Trek before, but I've definitely seen her in other things. I just felt she was. I didn't really like her character all that much. I thought he was okay, other than the dialogue. But the way he acted and the way he was hostile without being incredibly hostile, but he was hostile to them. And he's very untrusting, which obviously, in reality, that would make sense. They don't know these people from anybody else. And they just show up and you've already shot one of them. So at this point, you are going to have your guard up a bit. I think they kind of left a little too quickly though. That kind of doesn't make much sense to me. And later on in the episode, when they come back down, I don't understand why he could be handed a phase pistol and he would know how to use it right away. But I guess they have the same principle.
He figured out how to work a machine gun, so he figured out how to work that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
And
So
I don't know.
So anyway, they go.
This episode that they made them so distrustful of humans, like humans were the enemy. Like that part of the plot, I would have liked something more about them just finding a long lost human civilization. But to make like all of these people believe that humans are the enemies, like humans killed them, that was a miss, I think.
Well, this whole premise,
I think it wasn't a bad idea. I just think it was executed wrong. Like it would have been better to figure out that like, oh, well, there was two factions during this colonization and perhaps the one faction attacked the other one. So, at that point, maybe, the ones that went underground were told, well, those ones are the humans. We're the Novens, right? So I can understand
or
to
they could
separate
have
them from that.
They could have been two colonies on the world, and one could be in the South Continent where they ended up, and these guys, they could have done a lot different than they did.
I did like the explanation on why everything looks like just shacks and stuff, because they've built the ship to be disassembled to be shelter.
Yes.
Which I think that was a cool thing. I thought that was a neat idea.
That's not new either, though. Didn't they?
No.
Some other, I can't remember the episode, but they colony ships were often used as habitat, disassemble.
Yeah.
Well, even Khan used a ship for habitat.
No, that's the Conestoga. Okay, but like this whole idea that they sent a ship of 250 people. It was going to take them 9 years to get there. So they drop off 250 people and they say, guess what? We're going to bring some more people to this massive planet. It's a planet, guys. It's not like it's not an island. It's a planet.
It's a planet.
Planet. And so there's like a planet. You can't bring a couple more. They're like, we're going to bring a few more humans out. Don't you dare bring any more humans out here. We're already crowded as it is. What are you talking about? There's 250 people on this planet. There's many continents. You could settle this world separately and never see each other. So like the idea that there was this guy who was against this and that there were these angry emails transferred back and forth. Like, I'm like, what? Like, who did you guys choose to send out here? Like, it seems like you sent some bad eggs to seed this colony. This was I don't know. Like, come on, Earth, get it together. Like, is kind of more my reaction here. Is like, is this the best we had to offer? And then,
the other part of that too, though, is just the fact that, relations ended, so they left it. I mean, clearly there's been some major expense. This is the great experiment, and they just, okay, we're going to leave them alone. Didn't seem really right.
and then T'Pol's like, why didn't you get the like us Vulcans to check into it? Well, we didn't want to owe you a favor. What?
Oh yeah. Well, there's Trip again. There's my favorite Trip again. God.
Yeah, there's Trip. Yeah, but the thing that bothered me is the fact that they tell them that the trip from Earth to here is, I think they said 9 years
on the old system. Yeah,
they
probably
on
only
the
had
old
warp
system
2
9
or
years
something
before
like
they had warp 5, I guess, right? And well, because they even mentioned oh well, you could just got the Vulcans to do it, they would have been there and lickety split, right? And it's like, well, yeah, okay, whatever. Then the Trip says that, but it's it doesn't make sense that if this is the first massive humanity colony going out and they all of a sudden don't have access to them, why you wouldn't check on them in 70 years? Like, did we not, and obviously this is something that Starfleet is very good at because, Khan, for instance, is a good example of that. Like it's almost like it's like pump and dump kind of thing. Like it's like they're gone, right? Like
here's a rendering of what a fan created this, like a rendering of what the ship looks like, because you don't get a great visual of it in the episode. It's
that's pretty cool.
Like on the monitors, but
that's kind of neat.
And it only went just above warp 1, they said.
Okay.
According to Memory Alpha. So yeah, that's kind of cool looking. Like, okay, so then they took it apart and they built a little shanty town and said no more people can spend 9 years coming here. Damn it, damn you, we can't. It's so crowded. Even though I don't. It doesn't make sense. Like,
well, I don't think we actually find out how big the planet is, but it's still a planet.
It's even if it's the size of the moon, it's huge. Like there's a lot of surface area.
Still,
there's a lot of room.
More than 250 people.
Yeah, we're not talking like Barrie, Ontario here. We're talking like it's like even Barrie. 250 people
and whoever this guy was, this survivor who sent the message that never went through the cloud later on, he was just like, this is how you respond by hitting us with an asteroid. Well, checkmate, I guess.
It's like, you win this time.
Like, this is who you guys said? Really? This is who you said to settle our first colony?
And this is the problem that I have with this episode is just everything's just like, why? Like every so often I would be asking myself, well, why would they do that? Why would they do this?
This is where they could have made it a great episode by doing a couple things differently,
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I hate to say it, but I think Miri's a better episode than this.
No, I never doubted that, Jody. I never doubted
it. And I hate Miri, but it's well, it definitely doesn't have all the problems that Miri had. That's for sure.
Yes,
but,
that's true.
But anyway, so obviously they go up to the ship with the two leads, I guess the two representatives of the kid reptilian race people who are actually humans. They go up and there's a whole bunch of babble. Almost everything that happens on the ship to me doesn't make that much interest in the story. Like there's the time that they're in the sick bay and they're
wait a second before you get to that though. I mean,
the reason why they're there, I guess we probably should say that. Well, go ahead, Adam, if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, so they find out that she is suffering from an illness, and they can correct it. They can bring her up and find it. I think it was cancer, lung cancer. They told her
she has an illness that we call lung cancer.
Lung cancer.
And when he says "we," who is he actually talking about?
I think Starfleet,
like humans. Okay. Yeah. I know. I'm just kidding.
But they really went up easily.
That's what I'm saying is these are people that a couple of minutes ago you shot one of them through the leg and now you're like, oh, well, they could save my life. So, yeah, okay, I'll go with them. That's no problem.
I think it's self-serving. I think I think they both know she's dying and that it's only because they want to try to save her that they go through with this, but it's against all their best, like their instincts.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. I guess it makes sense that he would know.
Right.
Yeah, but we don't really figure out what their relationship is right away, do we? So
Phlox says that he's like, he could tell from the he apparently he identified her. She's his mother.
Yes. Yeah.
Even though they look almost the same age, I gotta tell you. And it's Maybe it's the mud on.
I don't know who we should. Well, maybe it's the mud. Yeah, the mud ages you.
Yeah, it adds years to your life. Yeah, but yeah, it's just like I guess that's.
I wonder if the colors are for the generations.
I couldn't
wonder
figure
if
out what
because-
this is their
Yeah.
culture. If they're not playing like turning an armadillo skull into a flute, they're painting their faces with mud and colored mud. But you know, this Noven culture.
We can't talk about that yet because I have a whole other blurb for that part. But
All right.
anyway, so anyway, they go up to the thing. They do like a medical scan. She's a little, obviously a little upset about it, I guess. And then they come out and, he's like, okay, well, blah, 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 blah. And then literally that's all that's going on. It's like, at this point, I'm dozing off. Like, I'm like, do I have to continue to watch this? And keep in mind, like, I wanted to do this. So it's like, but even I can't handle this episode.
Is this the expression?
That's pretty close to the expression, actually, Dave. Really, really good, good ready with the pictures there.
This digger meat's a little undercooked.
Yeah. Now here comes an interesting thing because Malcolm at one point goes, you guys got like a lavatory around here, like, which would be something that would be an interest. And they're like, no. And it's like, well, what do these people do? Like, they're underground, so clearly they must have a hole somewhere. But like it's another one of those times where Enterprise does something that the other series didn't acknowledge, such as going to the bathroom.
Well, they probably have one, but he said lavatory. I mean, half the people now on Earth won't know what that is.
Exactly. So, but because he's English and he's gotta say it that way, right? So anyway, that's pretty much all that really happens for the most part. I can't think of anything else that would be interesting other than the shuttle coming back down. Guys think of anything else? Because I can't. Oh well, of course we have the flute. I forgot. So now we have what appears to be the skulls of the things that they've been eating. We never got to see the front end of the animal. We just saw it burrowing away, and there was like a tail and a couple legs. Looked kind of like a turtle, armadillo kind of cross thing.
Yeah,
it actually looked like one of those things from the original series. Man, what were they called? Anyway, I can't remember, but I'll look it up later. But so they're playing these things like flutes. So I'm guessing that these things have some sort of skull that's designed in a way that they make weird noises when they're alive. Because that would be the only way that this would work. Either that, or they found the mystical ocarina from Legend of Zelda.
It was like they were playing like little magical instruments out of nothing.
Now I have to give the music people credit. It did sound neat.
Yeah, I give them that.
Sounded very odd, but it sounded neat.
I think that what it did there was give them credit that they were human and they could generate this kind of music or compose it, and because I think Malcolm was a little surprised by that.
Yeah, because you kind of get a look. He gets kind of the look on his face, like, "Whoa, what's kind of going on here?" Kind of thing. So I guess that's a subtle way to kind of bring them back to reality, I guess. We get a better look at some of the people too, because obviously these are fairly good close up. Can you bring that back up again, Dave, for a second? So we see on this particular person, we see, obviously like kind of clay all over their face, and obviously unkept hair, stuff like that. I want to say like even the vest that the guy's wearing is like made out of kind of like the armadillo shell or something like that. So they're clearly, at the age of 5, they clearly figured out how to hunt and create all these various things with this animal that they've been eating. So that's interesting, I guess. So they're pretty smart little 5-year-olds for the most part, and smart kids. So that's good, I guess. Maybe Miri
because all their food would have been irradiated if they had anything.
Yeah. And I'm sure some of them would have died off just because of that. Yeah. Because I'm sure some of the stupid kids, well, they probably weeded out all the stupid ones, right? So it's, the stupid kids that were eating the stuff that was from the surface.
The fittest, yeah.
Yeah.
like this, the fact that they survived at all is kind of like miraculous. Would their gene pool even be deep enough? Like, how many kids are we talking about? Like, started this colony like after the poison rain came.
Well, this is some like Blue Lagoon type.
Yeah,
shit,
I was just
right?
going to reference that too.
Yeah, like were you okay? It's amazing how much we talk.
Yeah.
We do the same thing, Adam. But yeah, this is very Blue Lagoon to me. Like this is like you put kids on. Well, in Blue Lagoon, it's 2 kids on an island, and eventually they figure out how to procreate, and it's like, okay, well, I guess that makes sense because humanity would, I guess. But yeah, I agree with you, Dave. Like, let's be honest, this colony isn't going to succeed very well in the end. Like.
That wasn't even discussed. Like this whole the whole
Well, the
thing
radiation probably didn't make a lot of things work correctly either.
was
Like,
I don't know, like this whole like this moral what comes down at the end where they say, well, guess what, your water supply is poisoned and you should really
right. And they're talking about bringing them back to Earth. Like, let's get them all, and we'll then they actually took it so far as we'll just stun them and put them on board and take them back.
Well, I think Paul was speaking facetiously a little bit, like a little bit.
yeah, I think she was trying to be funny, but not. But yeah, no, I agree with you on that, Dave. But I think this is kind of a pre-note to the Prime Directive, though, because this is kind of showing that they really did need to establish some sort of rules here, because clearly, like even in this type of environment, this is a bad idea. Like no matter what's going on here, this is a bad idea what they're doing. So. Anyway, we end up coming back down on the pod, and the pod runs into some trouble, ends up landing and then falling through and kind of caving in a cave, which is literally the worst part of the entire episode when it comes to believability, in my opinion. But like you're in a pod that has the ability to hover and stuff like that. Why is it all of a sudden not able to do that? And you fall through all this land and cave in all these caves. And what's even more miraculous is the minute they get out of this pod, one of them goes, "Oh, we're in this tunnel over here. We have to go over this way." It's like,
so yeah,
he crumbled around you. How do you know this?
He picked the worst possible spot to land this shuttle. Is that what we're being told?
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, but then the shuttle instantly has no ability to do anything it's designed to do and just falls through the fucking thing.
He says that Tucker's gonna have to build like a rig just to like pull it out.
That was the only cool part about that entire scene, was they were acknowledging the fact that it wasn't going to be easy to get this thing out of the ground anymore. And that's true. Like, you can't just magically beam that thing out of the land. You're going to have to dig that fucker out, and it's going to take a while. Like,
their sensors are pretty selective in terms of like, because.
Well, I think we're supposed to be under the impression that the sensors are still very primitive, which they have mentioned in previous episodes. Like, we can't penetrate the hull of certain ships and stuff like that. So, I guess it makes sense.
But they knew exactly where Reed was in the cave.
Yeah, but the thing that has always bothered me about this show, and it's something that generally comes up for at least the first couple seasons, is the Vulcan people have sent an ambassador with the Enterprise crew, which is obviously T'Pol. Why are they not helping them in any way when it comes to technology? You'd think they would at least give them the ability of better sensors or something like that. Something to help them to make sure that T'Pol comes back, for instance. Because T'Pol, we get the impression that T'Pol is actually a very valued member of the Vulcan councils. So you would think that they would give them a little bit more of an edge. But they clearly just sent them out and they're like, no, we're not going to give you anything. Fuck you. You can figure it out. Right.
Give them some star charts.
Take Paul with you. Right. So
yeah. And the worst
star
part
charts
of that
is all they got.
So Paul must be like going, oh my God, I got to use this stuff from like the 1920s.
Yeah. She's like, this is the equivalent to like listening to the radio when we have like VR headsets, It's like, yeah, like she's just like, seriously, I can't penetrate the sensors. Do you know why? Because your ship is shit. Like it's like that's kind of the impression I get from her all the time.
I get but isn't that the whole idea of like, I guess that's what the big advance with the Federation is once they like all the 4 founding members of the Federation put their collective technology together, that they become like bigger than the sum of their parts, and that's why they're able to compete with like the Klingons and these other powers that were way ahead of them. Later on, right?
So I know we're supposed to be more rudimentary. I get the fact that our transporter technology isn't great right now. I totally get that idea. Makes perfect sense to me. because we also want to limit the show. We want to show that there are limits, whereas in Kirk's world, he didn't have those limits that we have, stuff like that. So I do get that to a degree, but like something as simple as sensors to me would be something that should have been upgraded for the sake of the mission. Anyway, at this point, we're literally near the end of the episode. Like that's how boring this episode is to me. It's literally.
I didn't like the hot potato with the gun, with the phase pistol.
Trust me.
Here, give
Kevin,
it to me.
trust
Now
me.
give it to me. Like,
Yeah, they got to save this guy at the bottom who's Timmy's at the bottom of a well.
Yeah,
How did
Timmy
that-
has fallen into the well.
Yeah,
Lassie is nowhere to be found, and we got to save this guy.
And there's a big tree down there.
I never
grow
even thought about
underground.
that. Why is there a fucking tree down there?
I'm guessing the pod pushed it in when it went down there. I
Maybe
don't know.
it doesn't look.
There's a lot of roots down there, though.
All right.
Maybe it's just part of a root.
But then there's the scene where Archer, is falling off the wall, and he's holding on with one hand. Urgh. Trust me. Take
Do
my
you have a
hand.
picture of that?
Take
Dave?
my hand. I won't see if I can find that. Yeah.
You want bad blue screen? I'll show you bad blue screen.
Oh yeah, he's just hanging on by like a thread
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Here you go. Actually, it wasn't that bad of a blue screen when you look at it. I guess
Nails are peeling back, man. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Archer's got some great upper body strength. It's probably all that water polo he plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a water
I'm
polo
guessing.
player. Make a great 2-meter man.
Yeah, which I think Kevin was the one that mentioned that in a couple of previous episodes. It's like, why did they make him water polo? Like, out of everything.
No,
All sports.
I didn't think that. I thought, well, who throws a ball at a guy that's just walking through a door?
Archer, because he's a bit of a dick.
It's like dodgeball.
He's like, if you could dodge a ball, you could dodge dodge a Vulcan. It's like, okay, whatever. So, but anyway, so yeah, obviously they end up saving the day. Blah blah blah. Game
Well, this
over.
guy's about to die in water, and like this guy who he's been nothing but nice to, really. He's like, give me the gun so I can do this. And he's like, you got to trust me now. It feels so basic.
Sports.
The only thing that I thought was impressive, with the whole like them like landing in the pod thing, is just prior to this actually is Mayweather has 2 phase pistols with him somehow. Did you notice that? Because he gives one away and then he's like, "Here's another one, Captain." He's like Mayweather's packing. Like he's got like a couple of them on him at least. He's like he's fucking a Kaibo. He's got multiple going.
Hey, Boomer man.
Now you're missing one scene that I actually did like was when they found the pictures of the colonists and found the mom and showed her, and that reminded me of that. I mean, there's always like some cool episodes like that. I like the one with that guy Jonah, and they found, I can't remember the name of the episode. It was the Next Gen episode. And
Is that the one with the kid that they find?
the kid.
Yeah.
And they show him a picture of his family and he sort of recognizes it. Same thing here happened where she recognizes her parents, I guess, and recognizes herself. Is that me? And then she realizes she's human after all.
And
It's
now
also
we've
like
now
that,
linked ourselves to what it is. Yeah.
Like that original series episode with the with that green fat guy, and the kids are taking control of the ship, and then they make
Oh yeah,
Kirk makes them cry.
Oh yes.
By
Yes,
showing
they
them
make them
pictures
cry.
of them having fun with their parents.
That is the worst episode.
that's a great episode.
It's up there with space hippies, that's for sure.
I forgot the name of it right now, but that again, like, so it's like, yeah, they've done a version of this in many of the Star Treks, right? And so it's like, what is this bringing new to the table? I would say nothing new.
Well,
That's
I
why I
think this is a
dislike the
great
episode.
time to segue to fun facts because I've got a quote from Brennan Braga that you have to hear.
Okay.
Fun facts with Adam. It's fun facts with Adam. Where's the banner? I was singing and everything. All right, anyway. You ruined it.
So this is, from Memory Alpha, but this is his quote. There happens to be an irony here. It's about finding a lost colony of humans, but it was boring and unfortunate. It was such an early an episode, Braga critiqued. He also described the installment as terrible and one of the several first season mediocre scripts. which were an attempt to go after something that really wasn't there. Anyway, he concluded it by calling it not a bad concept, but not a good episode.
Yep,
And
I would
I
agree.
think that's how we all really feel on this one.
I knew exactly. I knew when they let they're like, why don't you write the report, Travis? I bet that'd be a big news back home.
This shit was so bored. We'll get Travis to write.
Yeah, like you got
Even
this
the
one.
characters
That
knew
was
it.
funny. That was actually, they're sitting around. I don't want to do the report. You do the report. Oh, wait, we'll get Travis to have dinner with us.
We'll get Travis to do it. We'll even invite him to dinner.
Hey Travis, come to the captain's mess. We're gonna have dinner. No, there's no alternate motive. We're just gonna do that. Yeah.
Here's
No,
some
no
more
print
work
pro
for you,
quo
like
here.
it's a prize.
Yeah. This is your prize for having two guns on you.
Yeah, this is
Maybe they're
You
gonna
get-
actually talk to him about that. They're like, "Why are you carrying so many phase pistols?"
this is all shale. He'll say in the report.
Yeah, this is all shale.
The executive summary.
all shell.
So here's another quote. The first major misfire of the show. Terra Nova isn't about anything, and the big revelations are never anything but predictable.
Mhm.
Perhaps it's because the first human colony is presented as so pessimistically, but the whole episode just feels wrong.
Wouldn't disagree with that.
But I mean, other than that, even the fun facts are not even fun this week. Like, yes, we already touched on LeVar's.
When Adam is downing on this episode, there's a problem.
Well, here's one that's interesting: is that this is one of 14 Star Trek episodes with titles derived from Latin. In this case,
true.
meaning New Earth.
no shit.
The other episodes with Latin titles are Dramatis Personae, Sub Rosa, Ex Post.
Oh, Sub Rosa is worse than this, though.
Yeah, Non
Let's be
Sequitur,
honest.
Alter
I like Sub
Ego.
Rosa.
Anyway, it goes on and on and on. But
What did you
Most
say?
of them
Dave?
are Discovery episodes trying to be clever. But
Yeah.
Did you just say you like Sub Rosa?
I like it more than this.
Oh
I
my
definitely
god!
like it more than this.
Oh, Beverly Crusher banging a
For the
ghost. Come on.
Scottish guy is
Yeah,
it's
just like that candle will do you in. It's your foul
amazing.
family.
Light that candle.
Not that candle.
I had more fun doing this podcast than watching this episode.
yeah, near the end of this episode, Mayweather mentions the mystery of Amelia Earhart. The mystery was actually solved 220 years later by the crew of the USS Voyager.
He goes, but that mystery's got nothing on the mystery of Terra Nova.
Terra Nova, yeah. Yep.
Really wasn't much of a mystery, really.
LeVar Burton did direct 8 episodes across all 4 seasons, which is interesting.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
This was the
It's
first.
amazing they had him back after this one.
It was amazing.
No,
he
I think
came
they
back.
had to get him back because they're like, "Oh, by the way, LeVar, we're sorry, but we gave you this one,
Like,
so now you can have some better ones."
if the script's bad, the script's bad. You can only
Yeah.
make a story so good.
I think
and-
from a cinematography aspect and a directing aspect, I think the episode was great. It was fine. It hit all the points that I thought it would need to hit, but it's just the story is so subpar. It's and we've seen it before. Like there was nothing new to this story. Everything about this story is just it's literally regurgitated Star Trek, and we've seen this. Like as Kevin said right at the beginning of this, like I already knew it was going to be the humans. Like it's like, well, yeah, we all did because really, like, what else could it have been? Like they set it up for failure. Like.
I just don't know what they thought. I don't understand because I was like, this is what you guys wanted to grab the Star Trek audience with. And you because like
Typical way to start Star Trek seasons, though. Like the first season of every single Star Trek has been god awful.
but at this
There's
point
been-
we've been watching 4 in a row. This is the 4th. And
I wouldn't say that the ones previous to this were as bad as this one. I think
No,
this is
no
the,
way.
the worst one so far.
Yeah, this is one of those
And next,
episodes where
next week's episode is fantastic. I love
oh
next
boy,
week.
Kevin, you're really being put. That one's being put on a pedestal for you.
I'm telling you right now, Kevin.
It better be getting
I-
9s.
I absolutely guarantee you that you are going to love next week's episode. You're going to love
I'll
the
say
concept.
like, not love.
I think he's going to love it. I think he's going to say it's the best episode he's seen so far.
That's probably true.
Not that that's a high
Okay.
pedestal, but still. Kevin's like, now I have to watch the fucking thing.
I think watching this 21 years ago, whenever it was, you'd watch that and go, oh man, I liked the show, but that episode blue, and like that's.
But I
way
felt
it
the
is.
same way about Next Gen. I felt the same way about pretty much everything in DS9.
Oh yeah, Deep Space
for the
Nine is
first-
one of my favorite shows of all time, and recently I gave an episode a 0.
What?
Which episode?
You did. I did.
Which episode?
I don't
The what was it? The Muse.
Oh, was it the Muse?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a bad episode.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, they're entitled to it, right? They're entitled to bad episodes. Let's get beyond it.
Every Star Trek had it.
We don't like this one. Let's move on to next week.
Fair enough.
Right.
Is that all the fun facts we have, Adam? Because literally, you're right.
All the fun facts we care about.
There's nothing.
I don't
really
even know if any of them were fun.
There's a lot of stuff about production, and it's not really worth talking about. I mean,
Fun fact: next week episode is better. There you go.
Yes, there you go.
All right. Well, okay. Then let's put the fun away and let's get to business, and we'll go to the ratings.
Into the ratings.
And get into. Can you guys see that? Maybe I need to go.
I can't see any of that.
Oh, Kevin, wait a second. You weren't here last week, but you gave last week's episode Unexpected a 4.5.
Yeah, I did not enjoy it.
Really? You quite like that.
Yeah, we were actually a little surprised by that.
We were a little higher on it than you were.
Yeah, I see that.
Well, especially Adam.
I liked last week's episode. That was good.
It wasn't great.
Even though it was a trip episode, which is not
It was
my
it was okay for me. I thought it was fine.
I like Trip later in the series. I don't like him at the beginning.
We went on a rowboat. Jody, what would you give this?
This is hard because I was gonna give it a 5, but then that would make Strange New World look better, which I didn't like that episode that much. But now that I'm thinking about it, this episode is worse than Strange New World. So you know what? I'm gonna go 4.5 on this episode. You know what? It had some interesting things in it, but not enough.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 4.
Yeah, I'm in that. I'm going 3.
I'm also going 3.
Wow.
You know what? Normally, guys, if you go that low, I'm like, seriously? But no, I understand.
Look, it's still better than the Muse.
It's still better than Muse, which I did pull up just for
Well,
comparison
that's-
purposes. The Muse got a 2.8 collective, so
You did give it a 0, and Ashley gave it a 1. Oh my
I
gosh!
actually gave it a 1.
It
I
must have
gave
been
it
a horrible night at your house, Kevin.
it was not fun. Yeah,
They both decided they rather like clean the bathrooms than watch that
Yeah.
episode.
But that was that episode. But yeah, like sometimes there's a bad episode. Every series has them. Even the best series have bad episodes. And this is one
if
of
you
them.
actually look up lists of the worst Enterprise episodes, this is very high on the list. So
I didn't say that, but it is. It is.
it's definitely one of the highest.
And it's rated
highest for
But here's
bad.
the funny thing you might find that fun, Adam, is okay. Like I looked up the IMDb rating, 6.6, which is still better than anything Discovery gets, like in any episode. You look up
Well, this just
Discovery's-
goes to show you how much IMDb ratings are horseshit anyway. Like,
Well, they're only-
and they always have been.
they're my only guide.
Well, and actually, have you ever looked at like when they give you the breakdown of the age groups that actually voted and the sex
No.
of them? The women always rate Star Trek higher, but it's probably because as men we generally just shit on things more, right? So I'm thinking that's the logic behind it.
right.
But
or
this episode, I think, was the worst rated for people for men from 30 to 38 or something like that. I think is what it was, that age group, which I'm
That would be
over,
my group.
unfortunately. But yeah, but
so
yeah, it's well, actually, that would kind of make sense if you look at the ratings here, though, because Dave and Kevin, you guys are pretty close to that age. Well, Kevin, not.
I'm
as
a little
close.
closer than Kevin is.
Yeah, but not that I'm
How
trying to
close
shit
were
on you
you
here.
being spot on?
I'm still older than you, Kevin. So
I was 30 when this was out.
Yeah.
So
I was
not.
well, I was
was
24
20.
when this came out. Yeah.
So, so but next week, what do we got, Jody?
Oh, next week we have a great episode, Dave, and I can't remember the damn name of it, but I know what it
The
is.
Andorian incident. Oh,
The
yeah.
Andorian incident. Yes. Give me 1 second here. I'm just gonna
So,
pull up the
This is
description.
different than Shadows of Pajem, which is the one I remember more, which comes up a few episodes later.
That's right. Oh,
But the
maybe
end-
I'm mixing the two up. Oh, that might be bad. Okay, hold on.
Shadows of Pajem is the 15th episode, but the 7th episode is called the Andorian.
This is the one where they figure out that it's a spying facility.
I thought
Is
that
it
was
not?
the Shadows of the Gem.
This is a very good episode. This is the
Hold on. Let's find it. Okay, so this is the 7th episode in the television series. As one of the most significant in the first season episodes, the events of the Andorian incident would continue to resonate in the 3rd and 4th seasons. Okay, so Captain Archer and Tucker, after finding a Vulcan star map incomplete, talk Subcommander T'Pol into taking a trip to Pajem, a Vulcan monastery. Yes, this is the one. This is the one where they go into the monastery and figure out what the monastery actually is.
Right. Okay. So Shadows of Pajem is something else. Okay.
Yeah, which is still a good episode. Don't get me wrong, but this is the episode I think it is.
So this
Kevin,
is where
you're gonna love
Jeffrey
this
Combs
episode.
makes his right.
Jeffrey Combs. Yep.
I remember like the trailer for this episode more than anything. I remember like the big. It was because you see like Shran like punch Archer right in the face in the
yeah,
trailer.
like they actually get in like fisticuffs and everything. It's great.
Yeah,
and I will say the Andorians look fantastic.
Well, then they can animate their antennae, right?
Yeah, they actually have robotics in their antennae and everything. It's fantastic. I think it's great.
Yeah, but
makeup wise alone, this episode's great.
But he plays the role so well and becomes a staple on the show.
He's literally a regular in the show.
Character.
Yeah. He's basically what Q is to the other series. He's the Q of the show. In my opinion.
He's more like
not like Q. I mean, just as somebody who shows up every 10
he's more
episodes.
like a Gul Dukat, or he's more like something like that.
Gul Dukat. There's a good reference. Yeah.
But you know what's disappointing about this character and this race was like done so well in this whole series, and they never took it any further, really. Into any other episode or series. Pardon me.
Well, and the way Jeffrey Combs actually plays him, he plays him in such a kind of cynical asshole kind of way but he plays him still in a way where you actually are still sympathetic towards him. So it's a really weird cross, and I can't wait to hear what Kevin thinks about it.
Well, we got a lot to talk about next week for sure. So
yeah, for sure.
Get ready, Andorians coming your way.
Speaking of getting a lot to talk about, Dave, I don't know, are we the first episode in the new year?
We are the first.
So look at that. We're the first series to be in 2000.
I was like, you know what? I was gonna maybe do a Hawkeye podcast. I was like, no, it's gotta be Enterprise.
It's gotta be
Terra Nova.
It's gotta be Terra
That
Nova.
way, the rest of the year
we're gonna start it.
This is it's been kind of the day we've had, like
as people who live in Ontario,
Yeah.
we've had a terrible day today. So you know what? It's nice to kind of get things going on the rise. So
Yes.
other than other things on the rise, which we don't need to speak of. But anyway, Dave, you know what? Just because we talk about this episode doesn't mean there isn't other things we talk about on this channel.
That's right. We're gonna be talking about Deep Space Nine.
And many more.
Continuing. That's just my Garrett quote. Anyway, Deep Space Nine at 9ish every Tuesday night. Check out. We talk about the next episode of Deep Space Nine. We're into season 4. Tomorrow we're talking about
Kevin's
an episode.
there.
Kevin
Will
there.
be there.
Yeah.
Like if you want 100% more Kevin, you show up tomorrow as well, and you're fine.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about We're going to be talking about the episode Body Parts. This is which also features Jeffrey Combs, as we've been talking about him.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
As he's playing Brunt in that episode. And this is the one where Quark thinks he's dying and sells his body.
Oh, and he's selling his body, yeah.
But then he's not dying, and he, and then this is where
Jeff is not going to like that episode.
And Kira gets the baby put in her from Keiko, and so there's a lot going on in this episode. So we're going to be talking about that Deep Space Nine at 9 share on Live Long and Podcast, as we do every Tuesday night, as we continue our journey to watch all those episodes and talk about them, much like we do here on Enterprise.
Year and a half mission, is it?
3.5 years. Jeff's like, I want to do a Deep Space Nine podcast. He says to me at the beginning of the pandemic, I'm like, Jeff, that's going to take us like 3.5 years. He's like,
we got time.
Yeah. What else are we doing?
Apparently, so is the pandemic. So there we go.
He wasn't wrong.
We're waiting to see which will end first. This is the big thing, Also, on Thursdays, we were just covering Star Trek Discovery. We covered the season 4A, I suppose. Adam Woodward, Michael Chan, and Ashley Millard. That's on hiatus until February. So Star Trek Prodigy comes back as they continue their first season. Season 1B will be starting, and I'll be talking about that with Davin Skellhorn and Jessica Chan this Thursday night on their newest episode. I don't know if you guys have seen Prodigy yet, but it's interesting.
No.
It's a kids show. It's meant for kids. So it's like the kids Star Trek. A lot of interesting things going on over there. And then we also have Star Trek Radio Theater, which is our where we do like the reenactments of the episodes with new takes on it.
The first one set up for 2022 yet?
Not we don't have the 2022 one set up yet, but we did do this one to finish off season 2, which was the first Star Trek first part. Commander. Yeah. So once I got to edit this one, and then I'll move on to doing the next one for January. But we will be doing something presumably soon. And then Star Trek Picard, guys, coming in February. So
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I know
I'm the only one, but I know I'm the only one.
And Adam is too. He's excited.
I'm excited about that.
Oh, are you too? Okay, well, yeah. Adam and I are gonna.
I know Kevin's not, so we're not going to invite him.
I think this is the turnover season.
I'm going to go back and watch it all in the next couple of weeks, though, before we get into it again.
I don't know if I'm going to, because if I get to that sock scene again, I'm going to kill somebody.
Send me your ratings. I'll put them in.
Right.
And then, and so Star Trek Picard's coming. And then I guess Star Trek Strange New World sometime this year is going to happen.
It might happen.
4 years later. Here we go. So it's gonna.
At this point, they've already found them all.
Yeah, but the plan is to eventually cover that as well. So we have all those things on Live Long and Podcast. Super Mater Brothers Podcasting is our other channel. We talk about movies, TVs that are not related to Star Trek. We haven't really done anything recently. We've been a bit on hiatus. Maybe Gilligan's Island. Who knows? But we
don't get Sam all excited.
Celebrity Big Brother is probably our next thing that we're going to be doing in February, as well as
How many seasons is that show on now? It's got to be like 300 or something.
I've lost track. There's many. Yeah. There's Celebrity Big Brother, then there's Big Brother Canada, and then there's.
They need to do like a Survivor Big Brother crossover.
They did that on The Amazing Race.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Well, yeah, but they all raced each other. Anyway, but
I'm only here for Star Trek. I don't know.
Yeah, so check out those things. We talk about Marvel. We talk about Big Brother Survivor, all kinds of different shows over there on Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. We have a new logo that Rich Mater designed us. I got to get that out there. And then as well, we have Trivial Debates, our monthly show where we argue movies, TV, sports, and more in a game show format. We just had an episode at the end of December with Max Duda hosting, Adam Woodward, Davin Scalehorn, and Eamon Mater competing. Check that out. Davin will be hosting our season 4 premiere. And so we're excited about that. I already got the questions all cooked up. You should also check out Davin's podcast. It's a Star Trek podcast called Locutors of Trek, where he talks about Star Trek. He also has his X-Men podcast, X-Men the Animated Series Rewatch.
Still haven't listened to that yet, and I'm such a fan of that show.
It's great. You should definitely get in on that. And then Eamon's podcast, which is called Let's Talk About Fighting Games, where you can find out with Spotify, wherever you get your audio podcasts. Check those out as well. And I think that's it. I think plug. All
right. Anybody else got anything to plug? Kevin?
No.
You gonna sail across the world or anything?
I did the COVID thing. I don't endorse it. It's not good.
Okay,
you still don't sound too good.
The official word is that COVID is not fun. All right.
Try not to get
easily cured.
It's easily cured. I don't know. Well,
maybe it Flox. I don't know. I'm not
Flox to cure it. I don't think anybody else has so far. But anyway, well, unless anybody else has to say, I think it's time to say sayonara, and maybe one day we'll see Hoshi again in the show.
Maybe. She was in. I was just watching. I watched the whole season 2 of For All Mankind. I don't know if you guys have seen that show. That's the Ronald D. Moore show about space travel. NASA.
You know what? I started it, but I'm only like 3 episodes in.
So I finished the second season.
I don't know why I didn't keep going with that one.
And she's in it. She was like a newscaster, Hoshi, Linda Park. So
Linda Park, yes, and she hasn't aged a day in 20 years.
No, she's the little sluggo that could.
Wow, that's very, very flattering. I'm sure.
You don't remember the episode with her and the slug?
Oh yeah.
It was like 2 weeks ago, Dave. I'm not that terrible. Anyway, 2-3 weeks ago.
Every day I think about Hoshi now. I'm like, she was the little sluggo that
maybe next week's episode we'll see Hoshi, but I'm not going to give it away, but not a lot. Anyway, but we will see some antennas. Anyway, for all of us here at the Live Log and Podcast channel, and of course, obviously this podcast, have a great night. And goodbye and stuff, and that's all we can do. Oh, are we doing this again? Okay, we're doing that again.
You're damn straight.
You're damn straight we are. Anyway, let's play us out, Dave.
All right.
They're human beings. It's their birthright.